All right, so AI, it's everywhere, right? And you want to get a handle on it all. You sent over a ton of stuff for this deep dive. I have to say some of it even surprised me.
Oh yeah, it's a really interesting field and it moves so fast. Like even for me, and I work at this field, it's like I'm constantly learning.
Okay, so let's I guess get back to basics. One of the articles we have, this one's from Caltech. It says that AI is all about building computer systems that can do things humans usually do with their, intelligence. But what does that actually mean, like in practice?
Hmm. Think about recognizing like a face. Humans do it so easily, but
Mm-hmm.
for a computer, it's actually really complicated. It has to analyze all the patterns and shadows and the light and well, all sorts of things. So AI is about teaching computers to do that kind of thing, but not by like programming specific rules, but by letting them learn like from data.
So you're not giving them like a step by step. You're just giving them a bunch of information and saying, figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. And the crazy thing is, they can often figure it out way better than we can. For example, now we have AI systems that are like better than humans at things like image recognition, translating languages, and even in some cases, they're even better at like medical diagnosis.
Wow, that's amazing. So how many types of AI are there? I think the Caltech article talked about different types, right?
Yeah, they broke it down into four main categories. It starts with something called reactive machines.
Mm.
Think of that chess-playing computer, Deep Blue. It beat that chess grandmaster, what was his name? Gary Kasparov, back in the 90s. It was a big deal then, but Deep Blue could only react to what was happening on the board right then. Like it had no memory of past games, no strategy or anything, just, pure calculation.
So really smart, but in a like limited way.
Yeah, exactly. Then you have limited memory AI. And this is where things get a little more interesting because these systems can learn from like their past experiences.
Yeah.
Those recommendations you get on Netflix or Spotify. Those are algorithms that are remembering what you've watched or listened to in the past, and then they use that info to, suggest stuff you might like.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like they're building like a profile of your tastes, but it's not a human doing it. It's like this AI thing just constantly learning and figuring out what you like.
Right. And as you can imagine, this type of AI is super powerful for things like personalization, predicting things, and even automating some tasks.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about the more like advanced stuff? The Caltech article also talked about something called theory of mind AI. What's that?
Now we're getting into sci-fi territory, at least for now. Theory of mind is the ability to understand that other beings, they have their own thoughts, beliefs, and intentions, even if those are like different from your own. It's the thing that lets us empathize with people, guess how they're going to behave and deal with complicated, social situations.
So are you saying that researchers are trying to create AI that can like read our minds?
Not mind reading exactly, but yeah, the goal is to make AI that can like model human desires and beliefs, understand our motivations, and maybe even predict what we're going to do. Imagine like a robot that can not only understand your instructions, but also like knows when you're getting frustrated and offers to help, in a natural way.
Oh, wow. That's both amazing and like kind of scary at the same time. I mean, if a machine can understand us that well, where does it stop?
That's a question a lot of people are asking, and, for good reason. But for now, theory of mind AI is still in the very early stages. We're a long way from machines that can really understand all the complexities of, like, the human mind.
Okay. That makes me feel a little better, I guess. What about the last category? They called it self-aware AI. That sounds straight out of, Terminator.
Yeah, it's definitely the most, uh, I guess, the most speculative and controversial category. Self-aware AI is the idea, and it's still hypothetical,
Hmm.
that machines could be intelligent, sure, but also conscious, aware of themselves, and maybe even, like, able to experience emotions just like humans do.
Hold on. So machines that like know they exist and have their own thoughts and feelings? Wow. But is that even possible?
That's a question philosophers and scientists have been debating for centuries. We don't even fully understand how human consciousness works. So the idea of copying that in a machine, that's a whole other level of difficulty.
So is this something that could happen while we're alive, or is it more like hundreds of years away?
It's really impossible to say for sure. Some people think we'll never be able to make truly self-aware machines, while others think it's just a matter of time. But even if it's possible, just in theory, the ethical implications are so big that we need to start talking about them now.
Yeah, that's true. Like, if we create machines that are basically like us, how do we treat them? Do they have rights, responsibilities? It's a lot to think
There's
about.
a lot to think about. But for now, let's focus on the types of AI that already exist, the ones that are already having a real impact on our lives.
Okay, good plan. So we've got these different types of AI, but how are they actually being used in the real world? I think the Caltech article talked about a bunch of examples, right?
Oh, yeah. And remember, AI isn't just some far-off technology. It's already a part of our lives in many ways. Think about how you use your smartphone. Things like voice assistants, facial recognition, those personalized recommendations you get, even just your spam filter, all that stuff, that's AI.
I never really thought about it like that. But yeah, it makes sense. And what about other industries? How is AI being used in like healthcare?
Oh, AI is making huge progress in healthcare.
Yeah.
One of the most promising areas is medical imaging. AI algorithms can look at X-rays, CT scans, MRIs, and they're incredibly accurate. Actually, often they can find tiny problems that might point to cancer or other diseases even better than human radiologists can.
Oh, wow. So it's not just about, convenience or entertainment. It's literally helping to save lives. That's pretty amazing.
Oh, yeah. And there are so many more examples. AI is being used to personalize treatments, help discover new drugs, even assist with surgery. It really has the potential to change healthcare completely.
Okay. This is really impressive, but I have to be honest, I'm starting to feel a bit overwhelmed. Like, AI is everywhere, doing everything. It's a lot.
I get it. It's like trying to drink from a fire hose sometimes. But that's why we're here, to break it all down and make sense of it.
Well, I really appreciate that. I'm definitely feeling a bit more confident about, understanding AI now. So what's next? What else should we explore?
Well, now that we have a basic understanding of what AI is and how it's used, let's dig a little deeper into the tech behind it. You've probably heard of machine learning and deep learning. Do you know much about those?
I've heard of them, but honestly, they sound kind of intimidating. I don't really get the difference between the two.
Yeah, it's a common thing to get confused about. They're definitely related, but not the same thing. Think of machine learning as the broader concept. It's basically using algorithms to let computers learn from data without someone programming every little detail.
Okay, so machine learning is kind of like the overall category, and deep learning is a specific type of machine learning.
Exactly. Deep learning uses these things called artificial neural networks, which are inspired by the structure of the human brain.
Neural networks. Now you're losing me. What are those, and what's so special about them?
Okay, imagine a network of interconnected nodes, kind of like the neurons in your brain. Each node takes input from other nodes, does a simple calculation, and then sends its output to other nodes. So by changing the connections between these nodes, these deep learning algorithms can learn to recognize, really complex patterns in data.
So it's kind of like they're copying the way our brains process information, right?
Yeah, that's the basic idea. And what makes deep learning so powerful is that it can handle massive amounts of data, like huge amounts, and it can figure out important features in the data automatically, features that would be really hard for humans to program by hand.
Okay, I think this is starting to make sense. Can you give me an example of how deep learning is used, in the real world?
Sure. One of the best-known examples is image recognition. Deep learning is now really good at identifying objects in pictures, like cars, people, animals, even landmarks. And this tech is used in all sorts of things, from self-driving cars to facial recognition systems and even medical image analysis.
Oh, so deep learning is what's behind those cool things our phones can do now, like recognizing our faces or telling us what kind of flower we're looking at.
Right. And it's not just for images. Deep learning is also used in stuff like natural language processing, speech recognition, machine translation, and many other areas. It's definitely one of the most exciting and rapidly developing areas in AI research.
Wow. So we've talked about the different types of AI, the basics of machine learning and deep learning, and a few ways it's used in real life. But who's actually pushing all this innovation forward? Who are the big players in the AI world?
Well, there are tons of companies and research institutions working on AI, but some of the biggest names are the usual suspects, those big tech companies like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, Apple.
Oh, yeah, of course. But why are those companies so invested in AI?
Well, for one thing, AI is incredibly valuable for business. It can help tailor user experiences, make things more efficient, automate tasks, and even create entirely new products and services.
So it's not just about pushing the limits of technology, it's also about, making money.
Of course, business plays a big role, but these companies are also really interested in moving the field of AI forward and seeing what it can do to solve, some of the world's biggest problems.
So it's kind of both. profit motive and a desire to like make the world a better place.
Exactly. And remember, these companies are always competing with each other, which actually pushes innovation and progress in AI even faster.
Right. Competition definitely leads to breakthroughs. What are some specific examples of how these tech giants are using AI?
Okay, well, Google's using AI for their search engine, their voice assistant, their self-driving car project, and honestly, tons of other stuff.
Hmm.
Microsoft's really into AI for cloud computing, their productivity tools, even for gaming. And Amazon uses AI to personalize shopping recommendations, streamline their logistics network, and, make their Alexa voice assistant work.
Wow. It sounds like AI is just like built into these companies everywhere.
You got it. And it's only going to get more common in the coming years. AI isn't like a niche technology anymore. It's becoming a fundamental part of, our digital world.
All right. I'm definitely starting to get the picture now. But before we keep going, I think it's time to hear your expert insights on like the big questions around AI. What are some of the potential benefits and risks we should be thinking about as this tech keeps advancing?
That's a great question. And it's one we should all be thinking about very carefully. On the one hand, AI could help us solve some of humanity's biggest problems. Like,
Yeah.
imagine AI helping us deal with climate change, curing diseases, improving education, and creating a world that's more fair and sustainable.
That sounds incredibly optimistic, but I'm guessing there are some potential downsides too, right?
Of course,
Hmm.
like any powerful tool, AI has both good and bad sides. One of the biggest worries is that it could cause job displacement. As AI gets more sophisticated, it's likely to automate lots of jobs that are currently done by people.
Yeah, that's definitely something we hear a lot about these days. People are worried about robots taking their jobs.
And it's a valid concern. It's something we need to address, like head on. We have to invest in education and training so that people have the skills they need to succeed in a future where AI is everywhere.
So it's not just about developing the technology, it's also about preparing people for the changes that AI will bring.
Exactly. We need to think carefully about the ethical implications of AI, come up with guidelines for using it responsibly, and make sure that the benefits are shared widely and fairly.
Okay, that makes sense. But I have to admit, I'm still feeling a little unsure about the whole thing. It's hard not to be like a little worried about the idea of machines getting smarter and smarter.
I get it. It's a natural human reaction to something that's both powerful and, new and different. But it's important to remember that AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or bad. It's really up to us to make sure it's used in a way that benefits everyone.
That's a really good point. We have a responsibility to make sure AI is used in a way that benefits humanity. But how likely is it that we'll actually be able to control this tech? What if it gets out of control?
Well, that's the kind of question that's been in tons of science fiction stories, and it's definitely something to take seriously. But AI is a product of human creativity,
Mhm.
and we have the ability to guide its development in a way that's safe and beneficial.
So you're saying we shouldn't be afraid of AI, but we should be, cautious and thoughtful about how we develop and use it.
Exactly. We need to approach AI with like a balance of curiosity and caution. You know,
Right.
we need to be optimistic, but also realistic. It's a powerful tech that could totally change the world, but ultimately it's our choice what kind of future we create with it.
That's a great point. We've covered a lot in this deep dive so far, and I'm feeling much more informed about AI. But I know there's still a lot more to learn and explore.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I encourage you to keep learning and exploring this topic. AI is always changing and developing, so there's always something new and exciting to learn about.
Well, I'm definitely interested, and I'm excited to, dig even deeper into this amazing world. But before we do, let's take a little break to absorb all this incredible information. We'll be right back with more insights and discussions about the future of AI. Okay, so we're back and we're continuing our exploration of AI. Before we took a break, we were talking about the big companies like Google, Amazon, and how AI is becoming like a core part of their business.
Right. And it's not just those big tech companies. AI is spreading to pretty much every industry. We've all heard about self-driving cars, but what about AI that helps, farmers keep track of their crops? Or AI that can predict, like, equipment failures in factories before they even happen?
Wow, it really seems like almost every industry is finding a way to use AI. What are some of the applications that surprised you the most?
One area I find super fascinating is the connection between AI and creativity. We've got AI systems now that can compose music, write poetry, even create, like, realistic-looking artwork.
Hold on. AI that can be creative? That sounds like something straight out of a movie. How is
Yeah.
that even possible?
I know, right? It might seem counterintuitive, but it all boils down to pattern recognition. AI can analyze a ton of data, music, text, images, and learn the patterns that make up those creative works. And then, get this, it can use those patterns to create new stuff that's often surprisingly original and, like, interesting.
So it's not like the AI is, thinking creatively in the same way a human artist would, but it's using its ability to see patterns to create something new.
Exactly. It's kind of like giving the AI a set of building blocks, musical notes, words, brushstrokes, and then letting it play around with different combos and see what comes out.
That's wild. So if AI can be creative, does that mean it could eventually, replace human artists?
That's a huge debate in the art world right now. Some people think AI will eventually make human artists, well, obsolete, but others think AI will just become another tool that artists can use to, boost their own creativity.
I guess we'll have to see how it all plays out. But I have to say, the idea of AI creating art is both exciting and a little, I don't know, unsettling.
Yeah, I get that. It definitely challenges our ideas about creativity.
Mm.
Makes us question what art even is. But one thing's for sure, AI is pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the creative world.
Absolutely. So we talked about the creative side of AI, but what about the more practical applications? How is AI being used to solve, real world problems?
Well, one area where AI is having a huge impact is healthcare. We talked earlier about AI being able to analyze medical images, but it can do so much more than that. AI is being used to come up with personalized treatment plans, predict how patients will do, and even assist with surgery.
So it's not just about diagnosing diseases, it's about using AI to make healthcare more effective and efficient overall.
You got it. Imagine a world where AI can help doctors figure out which patients are most at risk for certain diseases. That would allow for early intervention and prevention, right? Or a world where AI can analyze someone's genes and medical history to come up with a custom treatment plan.
That sounds like the future of medicine. What about other areas like transportation or energy?
Oh, AI is making progress there too. Like in transportation, we've got self-driving cars, which use AI to navigate and avoid obstacles.
Hmm.
But AI is also being used to make traffic flow better, improve public transit, and even develop things like flying taxis.
Flying taxis. Okay, now that sounds like something from the Jetsons. But really, the possibilities with AI seem endless.
They really do. And in energy, AI can help optimize how we produce energy, reduce waste, and develop new sources of renewable energy.
It's amazing to think about how AI is impacting so many different parts of our lives. But with all these potential benefits, are there any risks that we should be thinking about?
That's such an important question. Like any really powerful tool, AI has the potential for both good and harm. And one of the biggest concerns is the potential for bias in AI systems.
Bias. How does that come up with AI?
Well, AI algorithms are trained on data, right? And that data can contain the same biases that already exist in our society. For example, imagine an AI system that's trained on a bunch of data about hiring decisions. If those decisions historically favored men, the AI might learn to continue that same bias.
So it's not like the AI is purposely biased. It's just picking up on biases that are already in the data it's learning from.
Exactly. The AI just reflects the information it's given. That's why it's so important to be aware of potential biases in the training data and to come up with ways to, reduce them.
So we need to be really careful about the data we use to train these AI systems. Otherwise, they could end up making existing inequalities even worse, right?
Exactly. And it's not just about bias either. There are also concerns about privacy, security, and the possibility of AI being used for, harmful purposes.
Okay, so it's not all positive. There are some serious challenges we need to face as AI continues to develop.
For sure. But I'm optimistic that we can find ways to overcome these challenges. People are much more aware of the ethical implications of AI now, and there are a lot of people and organizations working to develop guidelines for using it responsibly.
That's good to hear. It sounds like we need to be having some serious discussions about how to make sure AI benefits everyone.
I completely agree. We can't just let AI develop on its own. The future of AI isn't set in stone. It's something we're actively shaping through the choices we make.
So what can regular people do to, get involved in this conversation? It feels like AI is so complex and technical, it's hard to even know where to start.
Well, there are actually a lot of ways to get involved, even if you're not, a computer scientist or engineer. You can start by learning more about AI, reading articles and books, attending lectures, that sort of thing. There are tons of online resources, too, like courses and tutorials that can teach you the basics.
So it's about taking the time to learn and stay updated on the latest developments.
Yeah, exactly. The more people understand about AI, the better we'll be able to make informed decisions about its future. You can also get involved with advocacy groups, supporting organizations that are promoting responsible AI development. And don't underestimate the power of just talking about AI with your friends and family. The more we talk about these issues, the more likely we are to find solutions that work for everyone.
That's really good advice. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by all this, but you've given me some concrete things I can do to feel more, I don't know, empowered and engaged in this whole conversation. So, where do we go from here? We've covered so much, from different types of AI to its potential and its risks. What's the next step on our AI journey?
Well, since we've got a good grasp of the basics now, I think it's time to tackle some of the bigger, more philosophical questions about AI. We've touched on some of them already, but I think it's worth really digging in.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. What kind of philosophical questions are we talking about?
We're talking about things like consciousness, sentience, free will, the really big questions that have been around for centuries. Like, if we create machines that are truly intelligent, do they deserve the same rights as humans? What does it even mean for a machine to be conscious? These questions don't have easy answers, but we have to grapple with them as we move into this new world of intelligent machines.
I have to be honest, those questions both fascinate me and kind of scare me a little. They're so big and complex, I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, I get that. It's a lot to wrap your head around. But remember, we don't have to figure it all out right now. It's more about the journey. Exploring these questions is just as important as finding the answers. And who knows, maybe along the way we'll learn something new about ourselves too.
Okay, I'm ready to dive in. But I think we should give our listeners a chance to take a breath and, process all this mind-blowing information. We'll be right back with more on the philosophical side of AI. Okay, we're back for the final part of our deep dive into AI.
It's been quite a journey. We've covered so much, from those self-driving cars to AI making art.
We have, and honestly, I feel like I'm seeing AI in a whole new light now. Like, it's really everywhere.
It's definitely a game changer, that's for sure. And like we were talking about before the break, it brings up some really, really big philosophical questions.
Right. We were about to get into those mind-bending questions about consciousness, sentience, even free will when it comes to AI. It's almost like, I don't know, we're stepping into a sci-fi movie or something.
It does feel that way sometimes,
Yeah.
doesn't it? But these aren't questions we can just ignore. I mean, as these AI systems get more and more advanced, the line between human and machine intelligence, it gets blurry. And that makes us really think about what it means to be human.
So I'm curious, from your perspective, as an AI expert, do you think it's even possible for a machine to actually be conscious? Or is that just something we see in the movies?
That's the big question, isn't it? And to be honest, I don't think there's a simple answer. We don't even totally understand how human consciousness works. So trying to recreate that in a machine, that's like a whole other level of complicated.
So it's like, I don't know, trying to build a house without knowing what bricks and mortar are.
Yeah, that's a perfect analogy. We're still trying to figure out fundamental parts of consciousness. Trying to create it artificially is incredibly tough.
But even if we could create a conscious machine, would it be the right thing to do? What kind of responsibilities would we have to, a being that we created that could think and feel?
Those are the exact kinds of ethical dilemmas we need to be thinking about now, before the technology gets to that point. If we create machines that can think, feel, experience the world just like we do, should they have the same rights, the same protections? Do they have the same moral standing as humans?
Those are really, really big questions, and I have to admit, I don't have the answers. It feels like we're in completely uncharted territory here.
We are. And that's what makes this so exciting and also a little scary. We're basically writing the rules for a future where intelligent machines are part of our world.
Yeah.
And we need to do it thoughtfully, carefully,
Yeah.
and with a lot of responsibility.
Okay, so what can we do, as individuals to make sure AI is developed and used ethically? It can feel overwhelming, thinking about these huge philosophical questions.
I know, right? It can be a lot.
Yeah.
But even small actions can make a difference. I think staying informed is key. Read about AI, talk about it with people, challenge those assumptions you might have, and ask those tough questions. The more we all talk about these things, the more likely we are to find solutions that work for everyone.
It's like we're all in this giant experiment together, and we need to be involved in shaping what happens.
Exactly. The future of AI isn't already written. We're creating it right now. through our choices and actions.
Well, this whole deep dive has been incredible for me. I've learned so much, not just about the tech side of AI, but also about, the ethical and philosophical questions that come with it.
It's been great talking about this with you, and I really hope it's inspired you to keep learning about this amazing world of AI.
It totally has. And I want to encourage everyone listening to join us on this journey of, figuring all this out. The future of AI is in our hands, and it's up to all of us to, I don't know, steer it in the right direction.
So yeah, keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep talking about it.
Gonna set it better myself. Thanks for being with us on the deep dive.